They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
You get jacked up over decaf, which is unfortunate.
The decaf, I think, has like 10 to 15 milligrams, depending on what you get. You know, because they can't get rid of all of it. Also,
Right.
how they do that?
I don't
Trae,
know.
You know stuff.
Yeah, I have no idea.
How they make non-alcoholic beer? Because thing. It's got a tiny amount of alcohol in it.
Right.
I feel like it wouldn't if they could.
Right. If they could just completely.
If they could make it completely, utterly alcohol-free, then they would. But it isn't, so I guess they can't. So how's that work?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, how do you suck?
Because I thought the process of like fermentation that turns all that shit into beer. Like I thought that made alcohol.
I assume they evaporate it like they do off a mash, but I don't know.
Right, because it's not like they make regular Mountain Dew and then suck all the sugar out of it to make Diet Mountain Dew. It's a completely different thing. But alcohol they have to make it. But the fermentation process.
Right, but when they make liquor, they run it through the distillation. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, distillation.
The alcohol is the second thing that evaporates, and then they capture that. And that's how you get it. I'd imagine you could just do that with beer and get rid of the alcohol that way. Most of it.
Because that's my theory. It's wild to me that there's filtration systems that like just take salt water and then boom, it's regular water. Like that shit's fucking crazy to me.
So if you have any like actual caffeine, your heart just go wild, Drew?
If I have a lot, my heart doesn't go wild. I just I can't handle it. I mean, y'all know this about me. I can't handle any uppers. I'm the downer king. Hey, there's a fucking special. The downer king. If I'm not doing well, I'll take 4 Xanaxes and barely feel it, which makes most people go crazy. But like with uppers, I can't handle anything. So if I have like a real this has happened before. You get an iced coffee, you ask for decaf, they either hate you or make a mistake.
They definitely hate you.
You get a real one, and just fucking, you're wired. I used to drink coffee and I would just fucking, I don't know. I can't explain.
So I'm saying, so what happened? Like you say, you can't have anything like that. Like what happens?
I just mean like it's not fun for me. It's not like I die or anything like that.
It doesn't have the desired effect.
Well, I feel like there's a pretty broad range of effects between, it's sort of not fun for me and I'm dead now.
Yeah, well, there's definitely been heart palpitations in the past. There's definitely been issues of like sleep, even though it's been 6 hours since I had it. There's definitely been issues too of do you guys come down from caffeine or uppers?
Well, I was going to say I do almost immediately.
Do you
not
mean
immediately, but like 20 or 30? Like, so if I go to the airport and I got an early flight, it's like 6:30 or something like that. I'll go into the Delta Lounge because not bragging, we're medallion members and whatnot. I go in the Delta Lounge, I'll get a cup of coffee, and part of the reason I do that is because I know between then and the time I get on the plane and sit down, I'm going to crash hard and will hopefully be able to sleep better on the plane because like any effect I get from caffeine at all, it lasts less than 30 minutes, no doubt about it. And then after that 30 minutes, I'm more tired than I was before. So I'm honestly not a huge caffeine guy. I do like coffee now, but I never have more than 1 serving of caffeine a day. And it's usually before I get on the bike or work out or whatever. And then other than that, I don't fuck with it.
That used to be the deal for me. Like it was like, oh, this ain't really doing shit. But I mean, granted, at that point in my life, I was doing like real drugs. So like, I was just like, by comparison, this ain't doing shit. But now I'm definitely, I remember when I was a kid, like, your folks or, sorry for leaving you out of this, Trae, but when you're like, they would talk about like, oh, I can't have coffee after like 3. And I was like, what? They're going, no, I'll be up all night. And I'm like, no way. But now like, yeah, if I have caffeine from about 3:30 to 4, it's going to be a little harder to fall asleep, So I
that sounds
the
like
joke
that.
hit, but it's funny to think of like, listen, Trae, here's a story about older people with caffeine you couldn't possibly relate to because your mother wasn't around, and I'm sorry about that.
I just can't imagine.
Your father died when you were a grown man, and I'm sorry that means you don't know about coffee.
Maybe
I didn't do it all Eddie Pepitone like that would have hit harder, but yeah.
Maybe I'm not thinking about it the right way, but like when I hear that, it sounds to me like, so that means if you have some coffee at like 3:00, you're going to just have energy for the whole rest of the day.
Not really.
Well,
sometimes I'll be. Yeah, no, exactly.
So you feel tired, but you still couldn't go to sleep.
That's
that. There's nothing on earth.
There's nothing worse than that. Like if it's nighttime and I do have a super ton of energy, obviously that sucks because I would rather be tired and go to sleep. But if I legitimately have energy, it's like, well, all right, I'll fucking go clean the house or do something or whatever. But no, sometimes it's like my eyes are like can't hardly stay open, but I can't go to sleep because of the caffeine. Yeah.
Yes,
and that
so Trae,
sucks.
you said that sucks. So you've experienced that before. Was it like on certain substances like Adderall or something?
The last time it happened was when after the weekend in Raleigh where we drank so much the whole weekend, and then I was just bombed out at the end of the weekend, and that was the main reason that I quit drinking for like 6 months entirely, because at the end of that weekend, that happened to me for like 2 or 3 nights in a row. I was so tired, but I couldn't really sleep, and that's the closest I've ever come to having a nervous breakdown. I cannot fucking go without sleep. I can't do it. So I can't have that. But like I said, caffeine for me, 20, 30 minutes after caffeine, I could lay down and go
tic-tac on horse shit.
Yeah. Like it ain't nothing.
Me either, as far as the sleep, and the caffeine really affects that. And I mean, when we first started touring, I mean, we didn't have separate hotel rooms, and I'm a light sleeper. That stuff affects my personality. So that's a big reason with no caffeine is it's going to affect my sleep, and then I'm going to become an asshole and or a crazy person, both at the same time. It's a horrible combination. No one wants to tour with that guy or be married to him. And then secondly, it's an issue of the come down for me is there's a crash. I can't sleep, but I'm tired. But then also I'm sad. It's like almost feels like the 1 or 2 times I've done cocaine. Like that's how insanely sensitive I am to uppers. Where and I'm out of good chemicals. That fucking caffeine rush is all I had in me, boys.
Because there is, I do not do drugs anymore. We do not do drugs anymore. Not advocating for it, but just speaking out of familiarity, there is almost nothing worse than the come down from a cocaine or an amphetamine. Like that moment when it stops working and you're there and everyone's asleep and you would love to go to sleep, but you can't, and you're just alone with your thoughts. Like that, to me, at night, alone, can't sleep. That's not real. That's a bad time for my depression, which is why for a long time I was like, I won't say abusing sleeping pills. I wasn't taking more than the recommended dose, but I had to take them every night to go to bed, because if Amber would fall asleep before me and I was just laying there staring at the ceiling, that's when the bad starts really creeping in, and I'm like, all right, 2 Advil PM, they'll knock that shit out. But,
right, and I don't want to act like it was as bad as the few times I've done that drug and had those saddies, but it was similar to that.
For sure,
it would be only for an hour and it wouldn't be as dark, but it was like, this is the least worth it thing I've ever experienced in my life. And if I'm really tired now or whatever, got to be awake for a podcast or something, Coke Zeros in the mini cans.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's got 20 milligrams of caffeine in it, or 15 or something. And it's like, boom, there, ride that little wave, feel a little annoyed when I come down, and then I move on with my life.
Yeah. I cannot imagine feeling any impact whatsoever from that, because I'm like the very opposite of you with uppers and downers and whatnot. I'm already so low as a rule. Like I don't fuck with Xanax at all because of that. I'm so far on the other end of the spectrum in that way.
We anxiety and depression. That's what we is.
Yeah, right.
And he's both.
Yeah,
it's the exact opposite for me.
More depression, I'd say.
No, I think he meant you.
Oh, me.
I don't know which way I pointed. Sorry, my cameras are back.
I'm both. Trae has zero anxiety. None. Not that motherfucker ain't been anxious for shit. You get. I mean, if you have anything, you have it's called eustress, which is like the actual healthy type. Like human beings always have
European stress.
Yes, European stress. But some of it's good. You could. Yeah, but Trae don't have any of that. That neurotic worry, we do, but me to way more of an extent, which is getting better for the record, and it's hitting. But yeah, I was the worst.
Speaking of
drinking and sleeping has helped that for me.
Speaking of sleeping, I don't know if this will play because I know it's always, it's weird talking about your dreams or whatever, but I just texted y'all about this and people might appreciate it. But I had a dream last night and I woke up to pee in the middle of the night from this dream. And I was telling myself, I was like, do not forget that dream. That's funny. Don't forget that dream. You got to tell them about it. Then I went back to sleep. I woke up and I completely forgot. But then Corey texted us something about doing a cameo request, and it immediately brought the dream back. So I had a dream last night that Corey got a cameo request to do a buttercream dream promo for the president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte.
Is he the one that holds up little people?
He's insane.
Probably.
He does all kinds of crazy shit.
He literally murders drug addicts.
I'm pretty sure that he's the one that there was a crowd and he picked up a little person like it was a baby and kissed him on the forehead.
You're probably right about that. He's a fucking lunatic. But he empowers like vigilante biker squads to just go around murdering drug addicts and hobos and stuff because he's like, the gross.
Addicts, not the dealers.
No, addicts, just like people just strung out or whatever. He's like, no, we gonna kill them because they don't hit.
God, he would hit for so many people we know.
So he's like a fucking.
But it's funny. Like, think about biker gangs. It's like, yeah, sure, they've never sold or done a drug.
Yeah, right.
So he's like not a good dude,
No,
he's a fucking authoritarian fascist leader. And in this dream, Corey got a cameo request for him and did a whole Magic Corey full buttercream dream, fucking belt on, all that, skewing and shit about how much that guy hits, right? and so then in the dream, somebody took that and like posted it online, and Corey was getting ripped apart and like losing followers and getting effectively canceled for supporting that homicidal lunatic. And he was, having a lot of trouble with it. And then I woke up and I was just like, I was laying in bed. And I couldn't stop laughing about that because I feel like, I don't know, maybe not that guy because he's relatively high profile, but like, I feel like if somebody tried to do that to you with a similar figure that it could work. Yeah. That someone could send you a cameo for someone sort of like that and you would do it. Yeah. And it's just funny to me to think about
people have sent me like a request before that was like wanting me to do like a heel turn and like cut a positive promo on like Trump or somebody like that because like their uncle likes Trump or whatever, but they really like my character. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And they're like, well, it's fake or whatever. I go, yeah, but it wouldn't seem that way. And if it ever got out, like, and also I'm not doing that. And of course they were cool about it, but like, yeah, but if it was like,
what a moron.
I know. If it
that
was
person's listening right now, Corey won't take the heat because he wants you to keep giving him money, but you already hate me. You're a fucking moron.
They probably do listen to this. But yeah, if someone like, if there was just some like town mayor of some town that was like, a horrific, right. Like, all
they wouldn't tell you like that it was political.
That's what I'm saying.
They're down this week and they need to hear they got good ideas.
Exactly.
So you're just like, you got great ideas.
And I just said their name. Like they could totally get me on that because like, again, if I didn't recognize the name, I'd just be like, yeah, okay. Know, whatever. Like I'll get a decent amount of those. I'm not fucking fact checking all this shit. So yeah, goddamn. Now I'm upset that you've said that now because now if people go to cameo.com and request Corey Ryan Forster, which I wish you would, people are going to try to fuck with me. Oh no, how horrible that would be.
Also, if they go and they do that and you accept it and cut a video, you get their money regardless of what you say. So
that's true. Then I'd get a bad review though, and I don't like getting bad reviews.
Well, if somebody tries to put one over on you to get you to say something insane and then gives you a bad review, either they hate you, they went through a lot of trouble, they're just going to get it out, or like, again, fuck you,
Yeah, but I will tell your uncle to go fuck himself. So if y'all want to, request me for that, and I've gotten some of those.
Quick update, just because I did mention it on a previous episode. I finally got back on TikTok, so don't worry, everybody. Calm down. Yeah, call off the revolution. All is not lost. Justice has prevailed.
Thank
all
God.
That stuff. I'm
still
it's
been
on
weird
TikTok.
There without you.
Yeah, I don't know how they got on without me, but I'm back now, so it's okay. I want to be even more Raven for a second. We got a story. It just the Raven part is because I'm gonna it has to do with the struggles of being, a smart person surrounded by idiots, right? And how hard that is for me, people like me.
Trey's about to talk about hanging out with his kids and their friends.
Yeah, if you need to go take a shit, we can sit this one out for like 10 minutes. I
actually am, sort of, kind of. It has to do with, but they're not the dumb ones. I'm saying one of my sons had a experience that reminded me of my childhood and made me so furious for him. It's also some other comics have talked about it, like Louis had a whole bit about it or whatever, where it's just like it's wild wanting to like strangle a child or whatever. Yeah, an 8-year-old, but it's like not mine because he did something to my kid that pissed me off, right? And I'm just like, this little motherfucker, and I'm talking about an 8-year-old, But so what had happened was like, well, I guess first of all, before I tell the story of what happened to him, like, so when I was a kid, I remember one particular example. This one time I said something in study hall about Jesus being a Jew, right? Mm-hmm. Which I didn't even think anyone didn't know, but these dipshit rednecks who were in there with me were like, what? I thought you're supposed to be the smart ones. You hear it, and they just they're like laughing about it and stuff. It's like, he thinks Jesus was a Jew. And they're like, you don't go to church. Like they were so confident that I was
proudly
wrong.
Dumb.
It's so wild,
I know,
too,
and I'm saying
it gets brought up a lot in the Bible.
I know, but yeah, that like proudly done. Like I hate that shit, but also I can't. And this is actually related to the TikTok.
Is that Dunner-Kruging?
I can't remember. I cannot stand, like more than anything, I cannot stand knowing for sure. I don't mean believing. I mean knowing that I'm correct about a thing and having other people very confidently telling me that I'm not, right? Like I've hated that my whole life. And it's because, and I think it comes from being the smart kid in school in Salina and shit like that happening, right? But that's why I was so pissed off about TikTok, just because I knew I didn't do what they were saying that I did, and I can't stand that shit. But again, that finally got fixed. So anyway, I got pulled back into all that stuff recently when the 9-year-old told us this story because he thought it might come up from the teacher or something. I don't know. But what had happened was this. Actually, I don't even think the teacher saw this.
He's 9.
Yeah. So this other kid flipped him off in class because he thought that my son was being, out of line or being inappropriate or whatever. And I said, well, what'd you say? And here's what happened. The teacher was going over something like an allegory, some story, and I'm making it up, but I'm getting the theme of it correct. And it was some Zootopia type shit where it's like there's a community of foxes and there's a community of rabbits or whatever. And all the foxes, they hate the rabbits just for being rabbits, right? Like maybe it wasn't predators and prey because I don't think they were eating each other or nothing. So let's say it's like raccoons and rabbits. And all the raccoons hate the rabbits just because they're rabbits, right? And they treat them differently and they subjugate them and all this stuff. And they're oppressed. And, it's an allegory for fucking racism and shit is what it is. Mm-hmm. So then the teacher asked some of the kids, is like, if you were a raccoon, how would you treat the rabbits? And a couple other kids were like, well, I wouldn't treat them any differently than anybody else. I'd treat them like I wanted to be treated and all that type of stuff. But then she asked my son, she was like, if you were the raccoons, like, would you feel that way towards the rabbits? And he goes, I mean, probably. and she was like, what do you mean? And it's like record scratch. Everybody's looking at him. He goes, well, if I had grown up among the raccoons my whole life, then my raccoon parents probably would have raised me to be that way, and everyone around me would be that way. So I would have no way of knowing not to be that way. So I probably would be that way because I don't know how else, how else.
Also, these are animals.
And that upset. And so that's when this other kid was like, fuck you or whatever. because these other little shits are too goddamn stupid to understand
the nuance
what he's saying. All they heard was he said like, yeah, I'd be racist. Right. Like that. Like they think that's what he said because they're too stupid to understand what he's actually saying. And it just thrust me fully back into my own childhood. And I've been pissed off about it ever since. I didn't say nothing. I didn't like say to him, like, you know what? Fuck that little dipshit. Like I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. But later on, after they went to bed, I was telling Katie, I was like, fuck that little dipshit. I've been so mad about it.
No,
dude.
honey, they're too stupid to admit they'd be racist too. It's fine.
Yeah, these fucking 9-year-olds just not understanding how generational racism works just fucking really gets my goat. Did the teacher not like intervene in some way though?
I don't think it seemed to me like the teacher didn't know that the other kid did anything. Like he like kept that from the
But
teacher.
I mean, like she had to have like seen that the room disagreed with him. I mean, like, you know, giving him a little bit of validation or giving some explanation and some context to what he was saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, she was probably too dumb, or he was probably too dumb to get it too. That reminds me of a quick thing. We drove by a bridge with my buddy Craig's kids, and it had been lit up like the Ukraine, and it wasn't anymore. And his 9-year-old,
like color wise,
yes,
like blue and
his
yellow?
9-year-old started talking about Putin, and it reminded me of like
how about that hit?
Yeah, dude. It reminded me of you see these tweets where usually liberal people say what their kid said, and then everyone in the comments is like, no, they didn't. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, right.
And I've always been on that side, but this kid was saying stuff about Putin, and I was like, maybe they do be saying this. It's just that they're just repeating what their parents say or whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
Amber. Yeah, I don't know. I did on one of our virtual shows. I did a bit about that, and the whole thing was me saying how like I know it's bullshit because my kids don't ever say none of that stuff. But then that's not really true.
Right. You just talked about how structural racism works and affects white people.
And also one time, but it's weird because it's like both at the same time. Like at one time, I think I told y'all, you know, his brother, the 10-year-old once, like a year ago, we were driving down the Pacific Coast Highway. We were down in like Oceanside or whatever, and it was twilight. So the sky's all pink and wild looking and very beautiful and shit. And he goes out of nowhere. He's like, you know, Edvard Munch saw that and thought the world was ending. And I was like, what? and he's like, you know that painting of the guy screaming on the and I was like, yeah, no. What? And he was like, well, that's where that came from. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, and I texted, you know, my sister and stuff about it, and Thompson, and they were all just like, fucking Burbank schools, dude. What are you gonna do? But like at the same time, like he don't know that Asia's a continent or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like at the same, I mean, maybe he does now, but I'm saying it's like it's both. There's very fundamental shit that you can't believe they don't know, but then other times they'll surprise you with some wild shit that they do know. So well, it can be both. But I still think most of those tweets you're talking about, I still think are made up bullshit.
For sure.
Real on the nose.
I agree. All
right.
Hey, well, let's take a break.
Yeah. Hit it.
Oh, hey, we're back here at the WellRED podcast. First off, we didn't really take care of our business up front. Thanks for subscribing to this podcast. Leave us reviews, all that good stuff. Check out Into the Biscuit with Drew Morgan and DJ Lewis. And also check out me and Trey's new podcast, Putting on Airs. Appreciate y'all getting us into the iTunes Top 100. Keep that up and all that good stuff.
I saw DJ this weekend.
Oh, yeah. You did Homecoming.
Yeah, I saw Patterson and Cooley and all the truckers. It was probably the best weekend of my life.
Nice.
I'm not going to lie. It was so awesome. I got to do Wednesday and
We
Thursday
weren't there.
shows.
You got to see the truckers. It's a fucking great time.
Yeah, dude. Only 3 people asked about you guys.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, I had a heckler. I put a video up. It's pretty good. I stole one of Trey's lines and then added my own flair to the end. A lot of people think I'll go ahead and bury the lead on the very end of the video. I made it look like this happened because of the heckler because I thought that was funny.
Your scar.
But I thought well, my fans will see this and they'll know that that's a joke. A lot of people are seeing it and they're like, oh my God, you got hit. And I'm like, no, okay.
I could, if somebody didn't know your cancer story, I guess I could see that for sure.
I guess, but if you watch the video, it seems to me that it's pretty clear that that's a joke.
Yeah, right.
But whatever. Anyway, that was awesome. The Thursday night show was sincerely one of the best sets I've ever had. Definitely the best set I've ever had in front of a rock crowd or whatever. They all listened, and it was so much fun. And then Athens just took us in. Of course, everyone loved Andy. all the band and all the band's wives and everybody backstage was just telling her to move to Athens. So that's on the table now. We like did that thing where we got invited to bars and ended up closing it down at 6 a.m. Like they closed it up, locked the door, kicked everybody out but us.
That's what's up.
I'm certain that Athens is not like that all the time, but I totally felt that Patton Oswalt joke, about how you can just get lost there for a decade because it's like a college town that has the almost as much music as like Memphis or New Orleans. It's a different kind of music, to be fair. Anyway, I just had a phenomenal weekend. DJ came down on Friday. We got on mushrooms. He dipped on me. Buddy, I saw old boy. He's real drunk, turned green. He turned into a fish because he was on mushrooms. And I had to leave. Like I was in the bathroom and DJ was just gone.
How often do DJs mushrooms experience in that way? And I say that because, I famously have only ever had positive experiences with mushrooms because I'm one of the luckiest people alive, but I know that they can turn on you. And with DJ having, more darkness in his past with me, has he had more of those experiences with you?
Yeah, I think that if I asked him, like we talked a little bit about it today on Into the Biscuit, and I think he had a very positive experience. It was just that in that moment, that guy freaked him out and he had to leave. And, once he left, he wasn't going back. Like, because that's the thing about some people on mushrooms, and I'm certainly this way. It's an inertia thing. It's like, I'm moving this direction. Going back just doesn't make sense because time and energy don't comport correctly right now. But anyway, I want to thank the truckers. I want to thank all the fans who I did see. A lot of people were running up to me and saying nice things. Some new fans, but obviously a lot of WellRED and Into the Biscuit people. So thanks, y'all. And I got to tell you, man, I've always dreaded the idea of opening for music. I've talked to you, Trae, about how hard it is. I've only done it about 4 times. Once I got asked to open for Sarah Shook, and kind of turned it down because I was like, it won't work. I don't want to do this for an extended amount of time. It is different. It is difficult, but it was a lot of fun. Once you get them, you got them.
Yeah, right. I've had a great time doing it, and I've also, it's been a slog doing it. And like early on, starting out, like in situations back in the day where you get put in front of a band or something, and neither one of you is anybody or hits or nothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is a fucking nightmare.
Nightmare.
I've never seen that not go fucking terribly. But when you're in a position where it's like, professionals in both areas or whatever, it can hit. It's always been wild to me, though, that it used to be a very standard thing. Like a lot of comics of a certain generation.
Oh, yeah.
They all got started for opening for like fucking, Frank Sinatra or Diana Ross.
But
all
those
crowds
acts
were
all had
comics.
Yeah, those were different crowds for sure.
They were sitting like they were there for a full-on show. You know what I mean? I think it was like a preparedness thing instead of like a rock and roll venue. And I want to say real quick, just because it relates to what you just said, the consummate professional and the kindest man in rock and roll, Patterson MC's homecoming weekend.
Oh, there you go.
And
that helps.
Came out and was like, welcome to the stage. I think he's one of the funniest people in the world. Listen to him, blah, blah, blah. We walked out. We did we swigged tequila together,
Nice.
So that helps because it's like, hey, shut the fuck up.
That always helps. When I was used to open for Cletus T. Judd, he would do that too, which is a different thing, but he would just always do that for all his openers, which does help because everybody there is like, okay, the person I came to see is giving, they're putting this guy up. Me and DJ opened for a band one time, and I'm not kidding. Not one word had come out of they introduced me, not one word had come out of my mouth, and like 3 or 4 people just go, get the fuck off the stage! Immediately, because they weren't there to see a comedian, and so they didn't even give me a chance, which is a little bit better than if I had started talking. Then I was like, well, it's not me, it's anybody.
I got booed, and I've never been booed before.
Yeah,
that was like, I mean, maybe ever. I cannot recall anyone ever looking at me and going, boo.
Even back in the day, I remember like fucking Wally Palooza. You remember that? That would be comics and bands and stuff. I got booed.
Hey,
fucking profusely at some of those shows. I got yelled at, get the fuck off the stage. All that shit, dude.
You know who else has probably heard that a great deal in his career? Our next guest, our good buddy, Caleb Synan, everybody.
Welcome back.
Get the fuck off.
Caleb, you ever been booed in Athens? I got booed in Athens this weekend.
Wow. At the truckers?
Yeah, one asshole. I had a great time. Everyone hated him. When I flipped it, they all were on my team, and he left. So I want to be very clear. The show was great, and everybody was kind. Just one dude hated me.
Wow. What was the deal? What joke was it?
Buddy, I was talking.
You were talking about Egyptians.
About teachers. Well, the Egyptians thing, that's what it was. I was talking about.
So it was an Egyptian man in the crowd.
Yeah, I was talking about a girl telling her teacher, teachers were on Zoom. Now they're back in the classroom. They don't have a mute button. And you got some girl. That's not what I heard on TikTok. The Egyptians didn't build the pyramids. So maybe that was it. He was like, fuck you. The Egyptians didn't build the pyramids.
Aliens, bro. Yeah.
What?
I think it was just what Corey said. I don't know if you caught that. I think it was literally just like, you're not rock and roll. Get off the stage.
I'm sure.
Right.
That night I was in between bands. The second night I started and it went way better.
Caleb. So Caleb's here. Caleb's been on the show before, everybody. Caleb Synan, our buddy, very funny comic, who has a new special out right now called 30 on Comedy Central's YouTube page. So go check that out. I watched it. Very funny, as always. Never seen Caleb not be fucking hilarious. So highly recommend it.
Too.
Thank you. My brother got that for me.
Dude, you look great.
So excited.
You look great in there. I was multiple points throughout. I was like, has Caleb always looked like this? Like,
no TV magic.
And I don't look like that. All these angles and makeup, and they put all this stuff on my skin and in my beard, my hair. I mean, I can't. And that jacket, I've never worn a leather jacket in my life. I never thought I could do it. Yeah. I always thought I was not cool enough to wear a leather jacket. And my brother was like, no, this is your special. Fuck that.
You are cool if you do it.
And that was the first time I ever wore it in my life. And it was so fun, man.
You can tell from the way you're standing, but like it still looked good.
Hey, speaking of
move, I could hear it creaking,
Yeah, you got an animal on you, dude.
Hey, speaking of opening up for bands, that actually me and Caleb have some shared history in that. The first time me and Caleb ever met was me and him opening up for a Shania Twain impersonator.
Oh, boy.
and
she killed us, man.
Dude, yeah, it was pretty rough.
What's the context of that?
So honestly, we didn't even know that
it was David at City Hall.
It was at City Hall, and David Perdue had booked this and just told me and Caleb to come.
Booked a show with a Shania Twain impersonator on it.
He was in charge of booking the comics. Somebody had asked him. I'm pretty sure this is how it went because we were not told any of this shit. And we get there, and they're showing us to our green room, which was like a Sunday school class or something. And we walked by a door, and on the door it said Shania Twain. We're like, fucking what? And clearly that wasn't it. But yeah, that's the first time
though.
She did. That better than we did. But yeah, it's the first time I met young Caleb.
That was how we met, and it was like showbiz. This will be fun.
Have you done have you opened for bands on multiple occasions? And if so, how did it go?
I opened for Kenny G a few years ago. I'm not kidding.
At the Blue Note or something? Why?
Dude, there's no answer to that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. I mean, I just get a call from my manager on a Sunday, which is weird. And I was like, Sunday? And she's laughing as I pick up. She's like, do you want to open for Kenny G? And I was like, all right, what do you like? I thought she was just. That was like a funny way to answer the phone. And then she was going to be like, let's get margaritas. Like, I have a great manager. But she goes, no, for real. $250. It's a theater right outside of LA. He's looking for an opener and he saw you on YouTube and he thought and I was like, okay, I don't have anything to do tonight. So I went there and I didn't get booed, but you could tell people in the crowd didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't even set it up like, here's the opener. He's a comedian. They just said, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Caleb Synan. Yeah. And the crowd's like, huh? And I I didn't get booed, but it was a lot of like, huh? Like I heard a lot of people questioning it and looking around. Why is this happening? And dude, it was great. And then Kenny G in the green room after my set, he just comes up to me and he goes, Afghanistan? And I was like, what? And he goes, me and the guys in the band were like, where's he from? I was like, no, I'm just Irish, I think. And he's like, I thought I had my money on Afghanistan. And I was like, is that the only reason I'm here? So y'all could.
Did he then start playing his sax and float away?
And a snake came out of a basket.
Dude, he was so funny. I had no idea. And his show is like, it's not a bunch of sleepy ballads. It was like a kick-ass. It was great. And he started the show in the back. He was standing on the back row on top of someone's seat. And everybody's like, where is he? And then it was like, dude, he was walking on the chairs. It was like a cartoon. He was so funny. So many jokes.
In that Lonely Island music video he did with them. He's got good timing.
So Kenny G brought the fucking house down, hun, and like in a hard rocking way. That's wild.
Yeah, and he could tell because I was like, I grew up. My mom put him on when it was time to clean the house. It was like a bunch of Kenny G sax slow songs, and I was like, man, that was great. And he's like, I know people are surprised. They think I'm corny, but I try to do a good show. He had he kept doing bits about how long he'd had his instruments. He'd be like, hey, this is my favorite oboe. I love it. Anything you blow for 30 years, you better love. You know what I mean? He had so many fun, so many fun bits. That guy's great.
It sounds like he has a comic sensibility too, because he took your compliment and turned it into, no, I knew that you hated me before now, but like I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Because it's like, who knows? Like, unless you go to see him live, you don't really understand what it is. Like, you think it's going to be the Titanic song and shit.
Yeah, I would say that Kenny G has had to develop quite the sense of humor over the years, much like a Michael Bolton clearly has too, because of what they're perceived. And then they're like, well, I can't take myself too seriously and be this fucking person.
Yeah, and you getting a comedian to open for you. I mean, it was like, because I didn't think my comedy would go with Kenny G's stuff.
I've always thought that though about you. Like, I was like, this is a Kenny G guy right here.
Yeah. We've said that among ourselves.
So on him thinking you were from Afghanistan, I think you mentioned briefly in the special too that a lot of people don't know where you're from or what you are sometimes or whatever. And I feel like you and I have a somewhat similar look, and it's funny because I've had that happen to me, but only once with a drunken buffoon he was this club owner who we all know from back in the day, right? And he used to call me Muhammad and make like terrorist noises when I would come in the fucking the club and stuff. And it's like,
no, he ain't dead.
I don't think he's dead. He's
dude, if he was dead, comics would have. If he was dead, comics would have made a pilgrimage to Tampa to piss on his goddamn grave.
Now Caleb knows who it is.
But I do. Comedy club owners never die. Comedians die, but the club owners live forever. They live to be 96.
But yeah, he used to call me Muhammad and stuff, and I never understood that then, and still don't now. Beard was a little longer, but I'm pretty white. But,
very.
You guys have double reminded me of Anthony DeVito. He's got great bits about how nobody knows who he is. He's an Italian comedian, but he also did Train's cruise ship. Like Train had a Train
the band.
Train the band had a cruise, and he's their favorite comedian. So he was on the cruise as a comedian, and that's double hard for you're on a cruise. You're not music. And at that time, he didn't have his Comedy Central special. Nobody knew who he was. I think Train saw him on New York TV, like that local. What is that show that they used to have? Comics
Live at Gotham.
Yeah,
Live at Gotham was
it was huge.
Where'd
you shoot your special, Caleb?
That was in Brooklyn at the Knitting Factory.
Oh, nice.
And it was wild. It was like the middle of COVID, New York City. They gave me like 2 weeks notice. They called me and they're like, do you want to do a special? I was like, yes. And they're like, here. And I didn't have time to even get nervous. It was crazy.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so fun. I had I was at 6 at night. It was one of those things where I was like, but it was an open bar. Everybody was drunk and fun. And
did they shoot like worried. 2 or 3?
Yeah, I just got one take. So they did, but they shot 3 specials that night.
Damn.
So it was me and Ismail and Amy Miller, I think.
Oh, nice.
We nailed it, man.
But thanks, man. It was.
So you had
fun.
2 weeks notice to like get ready for that. Damn, yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it was fun though.
Did you run the whole thing at West Side in Santa Monica once in the run up to that? I feel like
a while back, but that was I think that was a couple years ago though.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was it was more fun than I thought. Like when it's a special, like I mean, y'all have done shit like this. Y'all know, like it's weird. There's a weird energy because everybody knows it's a special,
right?
And they don't know who you are,
right?
No,
we didn't have that part.
No, y'all have that, so they know you.
Yeah.
Well, we did it in front of our fans, like some cowards.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, but that's like, it's weird when people are pretending to be your fans. Like, people are like pointing at me, and I'm like, I've never seen you in my life. I don't know who you are.
Dude, those most recent Netflix ones, there's a few scenes you can see. I don't think it would bother him that I say this. He knows he's a killer. You could see some people don't understand the dark side of Mark Norman. They're not necessarily into it. You could see their faces of just like, that's got to be surreal.
Yeah, and he's like, a baby with AIDS. And they're like,
thank you. I'm Kevin Hart.
Right. They're like, he's not. Why'd he say queef? And then he's Kevin Hart.
He's not Kevin Hart, is he?
There was one thing I was wanting to ask you about, because I've just started doing this bit about like how our parents were when we were kids in like the rural South and whatnot. And the whole bit's about that, but you sort of like allude to that a couple of times because you tell these stories. The one is about when you first got a gun, and the other story is about like playing outside with your siblings with an axe in the woods.
Yeah.
And so like my whole bit is about how like they clearly just didn't give a fuck. Like we used to be able to just do whatever the hell we wanted all day, and that nobody cared and whatnot. So I was just wondering like how much of that you experience, like, was your whole childhood like that? Was that your general experience with your parents in Georgia? They were just like, yeah, fuck it, whatever, you know what? Like,
yeah, well, you know, my parents were very pro life, but once you're alive, they don't want you to live if you're weak. So I think that was part of their thing. That's a great. And then they would get mad, and they would gaslight us and be like, we'd play outside all day and come home when it was dark, and then they go, when we were kids, we had to play outside all day. And I go, that's what y'all make us do. And then they would act like we didn't do what they did. But my parents they tried to raise us just like they did back in the day. And, you know, drinking out of the hose, all that stuff that old, you know, boomer comics will be like, these kids. And I go, I did. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's kind of kids. That's sort of the premise of the thing that is like, it feels like we grew up in an earlier time than we did because of that. It's like when I hear people talk about growing up in the 70s, I listen to it and I'm like, that's exactly how it was for us, you know, in the 90s.
Yeah. My dad is straight up
poor.
My dad looked at me not long ago and was like, yeah, well, see, when I was a kid, we didn't have cell phones. I was like, I didn't either when I was a kid. I got my first one at 18. You were there. You had to sign a thing. Like, what are you?
You were born in 05. Shut your mouth. You just reminded me with the water hose thing. Did you guys like get shit for needing water? Like you come in to get a drink. It's like, if you come in here one more time, it's like, it's 85 out there.
Yeah. Yeah, water was a thing that we weren't allowed to want until that kid in Texas playing football unfortunately died.
100%.
And our coaches begrudgingly were just like, I guess y'all pussies can get water now.
That's exactly how it went for us too. I swear to God. They would like make fun of you for like needing water during a football camp in July, but then some kid in Texas died, and then like you said, it was like they were upset that they now, I guess, better give you queers water, you know, or whatever.
I guarantee you, if that kid that died had been from Connecticut, it would not have gotten us water. Not like at all. Being from Texas is all. No. Texas kids died, buddy. Do this.
My dad would give me shit for like I'd come in, need water, and he'd be like, you know, a lady died of having too much water one time. That's like,
yeah, she was on ecstasy.
I don't think it's gonna happen to me. I need to live.
All right, so we will be right back with Caleb Synan just after this.
Hell yeah.
And then Caleb on YouTube, they'll see me saying to you that's where we plug in the ads on the podcast, and then we'll come back to, hey, we're back with Caleb Synan, everybody. I hope you like that ad there. So what do your parents, you know, how did they feel about your act, the jokes you have about them and all that shit? Because, you know, your dad's a preacher, right? Your parents are pretty old school and all that shit. Are they down with all this, or what's their reaction to it?
Well, they are, and that's part of like the way I've been doing comedy recently is I want it to be, I'm not trying to be overly edgy just for edgy's sake, but I want it to be, I don't want it to be like condescending to people like my parents, but I don't want it to, you know what I mean? So I try to like but my dad called and he goes, I liked the Hitler bit, but I don't know if that's 100% theologically what I would agree with. And I was like, well, of course not. There's no elevator in hell, probably. And Hitler and the Jews probably wouldn't be in the same area.
Right.
But I don't know. The whole bit's about what a 6-year-old's idea of hell is. And, you know, everybody can see each other. Like, it's one big room, and like there's like 1 trillion people, and you can be like, is that Hitler? Like, and everybody, he still has the mustache, and it's like, what age is he in hell? But yeah.
My dad also
he's still shaving apparently in hell.
Yeah.
My dad's also a preacher. He's only come to see me twice, but I remember Mom told me the second time they come, she was like, you know, it's so funny. When you went on and you started, we started praying for you to like do well, which I thought was like so very sweet, especially at that time I was doing a lot of religious jokes. But I identify with what you said about not wanting to be condescending, because it's like, that's who these people are. My parents were in the audience praying for me to do well while I got up there and kind of bared some of our secrets.
Yeah. And that's something that I'm like, you got to give it up. Like that's very sweet. And they don't totally agree. And of course, no, I don't even agree with what I say. I know British people are real, you know, these are jokes.
Yeah,
I'm not actually, I'm not actually trying to make points as much. I just wanted to be funny. Yeah. But I, you know, there's already been like George Carlin and Bill Maher have already done all the humor like that. And I'm not really trying to do that style, but it's like, yeah, I don't want to make any, like, if you come to the show and you're an atheist or you're a Christian, I want you both to have fun, you know, but yeah, I haven't gotten too many people mad.
What about just like your relationship with all that stuff growing up, like, you know, the church and all that? I mean, I assume you grew up very heavily in the church, right? And then how did that all go down? Because we've talked about that with ourselves over the years on this podcast. For me, I was pretty much religious, didn't grow up in the church at all. And then Corey and Drew, different story. So how did that all play out for you?
Well, I mean, I went to church like 3 times a week for 18 years, like a lot. And I played the bass guitar. I played the drums in my church. I was there all the time. So that's just where I like lived. And, you know, we grew up in the parsonage, which is next to church. So it's like, I just was a church kid. And then I went to college and, you know, met a bunch of Jews. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, that's a southern town, but it's also like, I mean, we were just talking about, I spent a week in there. It seems like a place you could grow a tail.
Yeah. And I loved Athens. I still live there. You can get a house for like $600 in Athens. Yeah. I would love to live there. But and then it was kind of, you know, I kind of went through a weird phase where I was like, I think I was too religious and kind of missing a lot of things in life and kind of like a little too puritanical or something. And then I think I went too far down the atheist route where I was just like not happy at all.
Heard
like,
that.
Where you wake up and you're just like, no God. And it's just like, okay, have coffee. You know,
no God, no purpose. Everything's meaningless. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And anybody who tries to tell me that there is some meaning is out to get me, because, like, you know, a guy I know who was out to get me was mean to me when I was 8 and told me I was going to hell.
Yeah. And now I try to have more of a, like, I love George Harrison, and I'm like, that dude loves God. I don't know which one, but Krishna, he won't shut the fuck up about whatever God he's on. And it seems to work for him, you know? And you know, when you look at a solar eclipse, I'm like, it's got to be something. That's crazy, you know? So, you know, my relationship with it is a little more different now. But I definitely, like, if someone believes in God, I don't think they're an idiot. It's like, I do. But I also, you know, I also genuinely, when someone's talking to me in a British accent, I think they're fucking with me. So I don't know. I can't help what I believe. I don't know how to stop it.
Right.
But
I used to have a bit about that. You can't help what you believe. Like, I tried not to believe in God at all for like years. And it was like, I do. I wish, you know, but I do. I do.
You can't help it. It's like being straight, you know. I like ladies. I think there's a big man up there in the clouds. I don't know.
Yes, being a Christian is the exact same as being straight to a lot of people, I believe.
Yeah, it's not like a whole thing.
Not a choice.
Yeah. Where did what was the name of the town in Georgia where you grew up?
Royston. I grew up in Royston.
Well, and like, Where is that geographically, and how big is it? Like how rural or whatever,
It's about
or suburban?
2,000 people live there. It's very rural. My neighbors were very, very far away from me. I didn't have any of that stuff. Like when you think of a nostalgic childhood, I'd always see those movies. Kids are riding their bikes around and trick or treating. It's like growing up with neighbors seems so fun, but it's like you couldn't trick or treat. It would take you 8 hours and you get to 2 houses. It was
you go to the church though, right? And they put them in the trunk of the car. Yeah, that was the move.
Right.
You got more candy.
Yeah, and you could keep you could keep all the devils and the witch references out too, because that would scar the kids.
We would like trick or treat in the car, like go to drive to various aunts or friends of the family's house and stuff, and walk up to the door and get some candy, get back in the car and drive another 3 miles to some other part of the county where a different aunt lives, and go up to her porch and do it that way. But what about your high school? Like how many kids graduate in each class or in your class?
Man, that's a tough one because with the town, I know it's like 2,000, but it was for the whole county. It was a county high school. So it was like so many towns going there, but it wasn't many. It wasn't a big school. I mean, it was maybe a couple hundred. It wasn't a lot. But yeah, it's still to where it's like, I could be friends with everyone I graduated from high school with has messaged me in the last week being like, watch it, and you can see the last message they sent me was in 2006 or something.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Yeah. I'm still friends with all of them.
And you're like, oh, well, some of you didn't get hooked on pills, or maybe that was just my town.
Certainly was mine. I was about to ask like how rednecky and or sad or any of that shit your town was, because mine is just fucking all ravaged. Desolation, dude, of every stripe, and redneck as hell too, but they're not all the same.
It was redneck as hell, and it's just the jobs thing. It's like so many people have moved. There's just a lot of retired people, and like a lot of people I grew up with, if you weren't teaching at the school or something, or farming, you had to go to Athens, Atlanta, something like that. So that's what most of my friends did. But yeah, it's like, which is the wildest when I'm like, I still like a lot of those people a lot. I love them. And, I remember when I did the Bill Burr show, and then I did also on Conan, I made fun of Royston, and a lot of them got pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Like this
beta
elite piece of shit, coastal bitch. Like,
right. That was before they stopped lying.
Yeah. Now you got too big for your britches, Caleb. Forgot where you came from.
Yeah.
All that type of shit.
And then I made fun of Ty Cobb. I was in the paper. They're like,
really?
Caleb made fun of Ty Cobb.
Were you literally in the paper?
Yeah.
For making fun of Ty Cobb?
Yeah. They didn't like it. They didn't like that because our hospital is Ty Cobb Hospital, and it's like he's on our sign when you drive in there. It's like,
that's one of my favorite of your jokes, which I'm paraphrasing. It's like Ty Cobb was a known racist. Do you know how racist you had to be back then for someone to call you a racist?
Yeah, he was breaking new ground. It was like 1906. It was like everybody's like, whoa.
You got innovative.
But yeah, it's so this one I tried to be more like I was like, okay, I don't think I even made fun of Royston. I made fun of California a little bit, but it was just like I was like, I don't want to piss him off too bad, because I got to go back there for Christmas.
Well, also, do you like? I have this, and I think Trae does too, and Corey. Do you want them to be proud of you in a way, like as a town, or you just don't care? It's like you only want your family to be proud of you.
Well, I mean, I wanted to be if they can be proud of Ty Cobb, you can be proud of me. I mean, damn, this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get why you might not. If you have a comedian, if there's one comedian from your town and he's not your cup of tea, that's tough because it's like he's not your cup of tea with sports. It's like he's hitting home runs, but
it's objective. Yeah,
believe me. Yeah, it's a whole thing for me, dude. In my town on the way in. First of all, when my town got a Subway sandwich shop, it was literally front page above the fold news of the paper. You know what I mean? And also on the way into my town, driving on the highway, there's a sign that says Salina, Tennessee, home of the 1996 marbles champion. right? And yet I have never been publicly acknowledged in that town, like in the paper or otherwise, a single time in the past 6 years.
Like, you got to win the marbles championship.
Yeah, right.
Hey, that's big doings in Tennessee because the international championship is close to your house.
It's in Standing Stone, which is right up the road from where I'm from. So you're right about that. The girl who was the marbles champion, she was in like Sports Illustrated for kids and shit when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
It was,
you ain't never been
big,
the international comedy champion, Trae.
Yeah, right. No, I know. Listen, I'm not acting like I hit. I don't, like that's fine. But it's just I'm saying the bar is very low in my hometown. For
I'm
getting
arguing
any kind of
it might be
recognition.
high. Like that's pretty international, dude. Sports Illustrated. I'm just fucking with you, man. It's the same. Mine don't have anybody's name. It does have my high school football team. We were like undefeated or whatever. And they talked about posting the people who were all state. And my mom believes in her heart that, like, you know, they decided not to do that because one of them would have been me and they didn't want me. Like a few times the paper has called different people who work for the paper and been like, hey, we want to cover your comedy show. You're coming to Knoxville, hometown boy. And then I send them some clips and never hear from them again.
Oh, shit. Man. Well, I lucked out. They put me in the paper in my hometown before the special came out. So they didn't get a chance. They might try to retract it, but they just put it out there. And I was like, oh, shit. They might not like it, but I don't think that. I hope they do. I don't know. I'm sure someone will. I get messages all the time from like younger people who go, my parents hate you, but I thought your special was funny.
What?
That's
like,
great.
Yeah.
It's wild that anybody hates you to me. Like
I'm starting to
crazy.
You're just a funny guy.
Like that you're edgy.
Things, you know.
I didn't think I was.
Leather jacket, you know, the papers writing shit about him. Like fucking Caleb Synan fucking over here, man. Hickory dickory dock.
Got old Papaws in his hometown calling him a firebrand. And
I don't like what he said about Hitler.
Yeah.
Andrew Dice Clay County over here.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. That was what's weird. I did that bit and I go, clap if you think Hitler's in hell. And it was like not the whole crowd. And I was like,
I thought about that watching that. And I wondered, this is actually kind of related to a story I told earlier before you got on here. But like the idea that like somebody might be sitting there wanting to be like, it's just because I don't believe in hell at all. Yeah, just so you know, like I don't think there is a hell. So if there's not a hell, how could Hitler be there? That's why I'm not clapping. If there was a hell, sure, he would be there.
Right.
I'm agreeing that he's bad. I just disagree with the premise. That's all I'm saying.
Trey,
You know, like I wonder if there was somebody
there. Was it you not clapping? Trey?
I know that's what I went through all that when he said it because I was like, well, I don't know if there is a hell. So,
yeah, right.
But I think I would have clapped just so nobody thought that Hitler hit for me.
I would have clapped.
That's the safe move.
I would have
be
clapped.
A very Brooklyn personality that would refuse to do that, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Or super Southern
Baptist. There was so cool. They were all like cool young hip people. And I was like,
there's no way to know that he did not accept the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ into his heart right before he bit down on the cyanide and burned to death. We can't know that. Only God knows.
For me to know, that's for the Lord. Only Jesus could know his heart.
Yeah.
You're talking about the hip crowd. You did really well, and I just thought of that considering how hip that crowd was. For me personally, a hip crowd is a nightmare. I figured it out a little bit being in LA, but until I moved to LA, because New York, you get a mix of different types of crowds, and I just always did bad in front of that one. It seemed like I figured it out a little bit in LA, but kudos to you for, you nailed it in front of those folks.
Well, he's wearing a leather jacket.
Yeah, I'm an edgy guy.
He's the hippest guy in there, dude.
This is the
they can tell. Like, this is our leader.
Georgia.
Look at him. Look how hip he is.
Yeah.
I do feel a little insecure because, like, I know they know a lot of bands I haven't heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am not like music. Like to me, I'm like, an indie band is like Nirvana, and I think a new rap. Kendrick Lamar is like the newest rapper I can think of.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm like, I don't know. I can just see in their face they read a lot and they know stuff, and I'm just like, oh god, this is gonna be hard.
The best show like that I ever had. PDD Abreu had one, and it was like the coolest black people in the world and the coolest white people. Everyone in there looked like Johnny Depp or Lenny Kravitz. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
and I crushed by leaning into how I was so not them. And that felt good as a comedian, but as a person, it was like, so all my insecurities were completely correct. They were all thinking that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, of course, if you're thinking it, they're thinking it. Like I did a show in Myrtle Beach, and everybody was. It was literally the show was. It was at a comedy club, but like 90% of the crowd was from a retirement community. It was like their activity, so they were all 70. And I was just like, when I'm 70, it better not be me up there. You know what I mean? Like I want some kid coming in there, like, I just turned 30 and I don't like it. I'd be like, shut the fuck up, young piece of shit.
Oh, well, it's always good to see you, buddy. Tell everybody, where they can watch the special and also anything else they can check out of yours.
Hell yeah. The special's on YouTube. Just type in my name, Caleb Synan 30. That's the name of the special. And I have a podcast called What's It Called with Dave Ross. It's dumb as shit.
It's so funny.
And,
very funny.
Check it out. It's fun. It's called What's It Called. So, yeah. And send the special to your hometown friend who's hooked on pills and hates me. That'll be fun. And your parents. We'll see if they like it.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, thanks, brother. Corey, you want to sing us off?
I sure do. Thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew.
Yeah.
Thanks,
brother.
Congrats. Love you, brother.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Thank you, man, and congrats.
See you guys.
Dude,
brother.
thank y'all for having me. This was fun. Great singing, too. Holy shit.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not editing this part out. See y'all next time.
That was like, I thought that would be like edited in.
No.
You did that in one take.
Live every time, baby.
All right,
See you, dude.